I'm sure you saw the last 20, 30 seconds of me going, where is it? How are you all? It is 10:31. Just clicked over at 10:31. Who we got online? We have Tom C. Uga. I don't know how you pronounce your name, but that's a cool name. Ugur. Very cool. Please help this Englishman out phonetically. And who else we got? Daniel. Hey, Daniel. Hey, Patrick Larson. Peter Samuelson. Hey, Peter. Hey, Jens. Hey, CJ. Aaron, Roberto, Leslie, Strange Play Music, Tom C, Rodriguez, Aaron, Leslie Pugh, Aaron Bird, Mark Becker. Hey, Mark. Hey, Pete. Hey, Rodriguez. Hey, Serge. Hey, Delvin. Hey, Leslie. Who else we got here? I'm trying to get everybody. How are you all? Oh, please help me out. I love cool names, you know. Big fan, and I always mess up, but I'm glad. Is it wrong that I just had to lick runaway hummus off of my keyboards? I don't know. I do love hummus, though. I don't know if I want to lick it off my keyboards, but I suppose, you know. Hey, never say never. So how is everybody? Who's our runner today? Do we have a runner coming in?
Yes, they'll be in 11.
Can we get them to divert and go down to, you know where? Porto's.
Oh, Porto's.
And get a selection of croissant and also some lunch croissants.
Yes.
There's enough haze out there to make a bale of hay. Yes, there is. Frederick says he can't complain. Good. Hey, so what we have is we've got the Ronnie Lee song. Where's my headphone volume? 1, 2, there it is. And, you know, we started working on it and what I thought I would do is I thought, let's try the new Route 1 plugin on it, seeing as we had a lot of fun on it and the reaction's been pretty massive. So I was like, why don't we just try mixing with it on the low end and start with that and see what we get. Down. Ah.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, look at that. Connor is trying to impress us with his earliness. After being late yesterday. He was like 15 minutes late yesterday, and I was like, oh, you've been learning from Eric, who was like 20 minutes late. You know, Eric's teaching him. He's teaching him the ways of the lateness. All right. So here's the track where we ended up. I don't know. Oh, he has got it up. Good. So let's have a listen. At the moment, all we did, if you remember, was very, very subtle things. We just rebalanced the drums because in the original mix, the singer, one of my good friends, Roni, rather talented person, she wanted to keep changing the snare sound. And we ended up with this amalgamation of a snare, which was not cool. And yet, this is Kenny Aronoff. This is a chance for you to mix a Kenny Aronoff drum session. Kenny's amazing, and why would we mess with his snare sound? So what we decided to do was rebalance the mix without any EQ or compression or anything, and just see where we landed with that. So that is this. No samples that were harmed in the making of this yet. Let's try it out.
Love one another, help one another. Don't you think you know by now? If I do what I please, would it all fall to pieces? All this time we still don't know how.
Okay, I'm going to stop it. I do remember coming and going on this piano part. It's not my finest performance. The organ was a Nord and pretty easy, but I didn't do the greatest work on that piano. And it's a little sloppy in that second verse and pre-chorus. And, you know, one of the things about, you know, working with this stuff is like, if I don't like it, I'm either going to mute it or in this case, I'm probably going to edit it. So here's the piano and the drums. Let's do piano, drums, and bass. So there's a couple of things. It's like, you know, this was cut to a click, but it wasn't, you know, it wasn't gridded. So this is Kenny's performance. So let's just get this. I don't like that. It's interesting. It doesn't sound as bad. It's just not locking with the guitar that well. So let's pull up the rhythm guitar here. And one of the things that's nice about printing DIs, let's be honest, is they give you, when you're working with distorted guitars, they give you an accurate representation of it. It's not that bad, so maybe it's the other guitar that's causing the issue. Or maybe I'm being overly sensitive to it. Which is also possible.
Won't be a loner. No one is an island, you know. So I do all I can, and I know who I am. After all this time,
I think it's that piano there that makes no sense to me.
and I know who I am. After all this time, you still wanna go.
What happens in this next pre-chorus?
Well, it's resting on your shoulder. It's time to make up that little bitty mind. Now, well, who do you think you... I do all I can, and I know who I am. Live for the moment, don't be a loner. No one is an island, you know. So I do all I can, and I know who I am.
So I suppose we could just cheat by taking this second chord and putting it here.
I do all I can, and I know who I am. After all this,
There you go. It's just that rhythm, that timing that came out. So, I mean, if it doesn't bother you, don't do it. But it's just that that push chord made no sense to me in the song. And sometimes this is a big part of what I do when I'm mixing stuff. You know what I mean? Sometimes I just, you know, edit things to make them feel better. But we talked about this, like working with, you know, with Ace Frehley. I will sometimes, what I'll do is I'll copy and paste guitars from the first verse to the second verse. If I want doubled up guitars, maybe he did one guitar in the verse and the second I want two. Sometimes in the choruses, you know, he'll do 3 guitar parts, but he won't double one. So I'll take his rhythm on the left hand of the first chorus and put it on the second, his rhythm on the left hand of the second chorus, put it on the first. So suddenly I have a wide rhythm. And he's never once said to me, "What have you done with my guitars?" He's always like, "Well, that sounds good." So I think this is a big part of a discussion here when you're mixing. It's really our job to make things sound better. And nobody, I think, is really going to care about me getting rid of that pushed piano part if it felt wrong.
no one is an island, you know. So I do all I can, and I know who I am. After all this time, you still wanna go.
Okay, that's the thing that bothered me most. I got rid of that. And as Pete said, that he's done some alternative stuff. There's been some horn sections. I don't know if Michael Garding sent us any horns yet. I know Michael was talking about that. Are you here, Michael? So there's some great things that could be done to this. Additional production stuff from other members. This is a good one. This is what a true feeling of community here, that we're helping each other out. Okay, so let's listen to these drums in solo for a second. Okay, so I'm digging where we're going. I'm going to take the two kick elements here and I'm going to bus them together. We'll go, hey, bus one is available. So make a mono auxiliary. Oh, of course, it's down there. Okay, and we'll call this kick sub. And what we're trying to do is maintain the integrity of the original drum sound, but not be afraid to, if we have to, we'll add some samples if we have to make it better still. But here's just a kick. There's a kind of wafty 700 on this kick out, so I'm going to grab an EQ. You know what? I should probably go for a 4-band. Could probably do a little bit more on this one here. So we'll go for a 4-band. First thing I'm going to do is just find that ugly frequency. So let's go here. I'm going to guess about 700-ish. It's like two places. It's pretty ugly about here. So let's pull that out. All right, let's get rid of some of the wah. Okay, but of course our good old friend 350 is going to always be, if we pull out some of that around about here. There's a huge build-out at about 150, which is not unusual. It's about 100, 150, which can be good when you're going for classic 70s kind of kick drums. But I think in this instance, I want to get a bit more modern. I'm already feeling like I'm going to have to do some real hardcore maintenance to this. I'm trying to avoid bringing in any samples at the moment. So here we go. Let's go here to this kind of 150 area, pull it down a bit, maybe widen it a little bit more. And, I'm not afraid to do some boosting of things we do like, in a classic kind of, crystal algae way, just boost the top and the bottom. Let's do a little bit of high passing. Just shape that. Question is, do we want to get a little bit of attack up here? Let's have a quick listen to the kick in. So the kick in has a ton of attack. So you know what? I'm just going to undo that last move here and just listen to this kick in here. So this is the mic that's inside. It's a D112. Let's grab a good old-fashioned 6-band just for the heck of it. Pretty ugly, that kick out. It's not a good representation. I believe that was a FET. I'm very tempted to just stick another EQ after it. Now that we listen to the kick in, which just sounds really nice, I'm just going to grab another REQ. So I'm doubling up, quadrupling up on these EQs. Let's set that to about 80. Use a Q. Maybe widen it up a little bit. I'm really going for it on the cutting now. Maybe about 100-ish. Pull that out. There you go. Now it has the thump. See that horrible ring that was all about 80 to 100? Listen to it in bypass. Yeah, Tom, I've been explaining the mic. So it's a D112 inside, and this is a FET 47. So the FET 47's on the outside. Now that's a usable thump. So let's put the two together. Okay, let's make sure the phase is pretty good. It is pretty good. We could maybe pull this top one back a nano. It's like, depending if you split the difference. Let's go to sample. So what I'm doing is I'm measuring that. It says 132 there, and here it's significantly less, about 29. As it gets further away, it gets greater. So maybe we do like 110, see what happens. So I'm actually going to delay the inside to the outside, see if that works. So we'll go time adjuster. I'm going to kind of go somewhere in the middle. Actually, 86 samples might work. Cool, let's try it. So we're going to grab the Root 1. We're going to see what it can do for us. So let's go to good old-fashioned our friends at Leapwing and try it. So this was fun the other day. I'm going to solo this band. What I liked was this idea of the dynamics, so you can actually you can treat it like just a sub frequency and just trigger it evenly. So hopefully you're hearing this. It's pretty subtle. Yeah, Al will move mics around. I mean, he's working in a very different area to this, but you know, because he's working predominantly in like jazz and big band stuff. But yeah, I will go and move the mics around. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm happy with the drum sound we have, but it would dictate the track as being a bit more organic. What we're trying to do here is like find this happy balance on this song between something that sounds, you know, organic sounding, but something that also sounds modern. Bearing in mind when Shelley and, you know, Jack and Jay Messina were making records, they were using a ton of EQ and compression. It wasn't just like this myth that, you know, that some mics were thrown up and suddenly, you know, Led Zeppelin and Aerosmith made hit records. It just wasn't like that. Those guys, those engineers worked really, really hard. And remember, the Glyn Johns stuff that you talk about with the Glyn Johns technique is like on the first and second albums. It's not past that. So, you know, and that was like, you know, one guitar, bass and drums, maybe a double of a guitar. I think this is like a lot of stuff. We have to be real with ourselves and go, I love the Glyn Johns miking technique, but you need to have a bass, one guitar part and a vocal, maybe a doubled guitar. It's not going to work with Metallica heavy metal drums, heavy metal guitars. It's just not. You'll tell people some people will tell you they can do it, but it doesn't exist, or else we'd all be doing it. So I've reduced this dynamics here. So my only concern would be maybe what we need to do is gate this a little bit, because it's picking up a little bit of that bleed, isn't it, off here? So it's also adding it on that snare. So what was our fancy plugin that we were using, Eric? It was fancy plugin. This is why people like samples, because, you know, the sample could control this, and it makes life a lot easier. Where did it go? I'm completely blanking on what I want to use. Oh, we have so much to choose from here. Let's talk about over selection here. What do I want to use? I don't want to use a generic. Let's have a listen. Yeah, is it here? There it is, AIX DSP. Okay, the multi-band gate. Let's try it on this kick in. I'll throw that into the drum kit and see how it feels. Everything was highlighted, so it all went through the bus. It's kind of cool, though. I was like, wow, the drums are all sounding really great. Okay, so let's just do this quickly. Send it all back to 1 and 2. Take it out of group. Go back to 1. For any of you that know what I just did in Pro Tools, that was quite amusing. Let's hear it without. It's interesting. It starts to sound like that late 70s, early 80s drum sound where you could hear the gating coming in. It's got that kind of drum sound. All right. It's interesting. I was listening to that drums mix thing. Eric Valentine did a breakdown, and there was so much like cymbal bleed on all of his gated drums. And when you put it together, it was definitely exciting because you had like the kick and the snare going, you know, and it adds to like an excitement in the track. And I think for some genres, like when you're doing like a swampy, dirty rock band or something like that, it's kind of weird and interesting to have this kind of hi-hat kind of and the cymbals and stuff like that. It's just difficult. It's like, where do we want to go on this? Do we want her to be like kind of a little swampy? Do we want it to be a little dangerous? I think so, you know. I mean, it's cool. I think what I want to do is still shape it. You know, we're having some fun. You know, the reality is like, I'm not precious about anything. I'll spend time on something and go, nah, I don't like it, and I'll do something else. But I think for this, I still want to sort of shape. I still feel like there's a build-up in a sort of 100-ish area that I don't like. So. Now, let's have a quick gander on just this one element. So I think what's happening there is like, you know, when you hear the floor tom bleed come through, it's cool. I'm still liking it. I'm being honest, I'm thinking to myself, do I want to bring in that kick? That kick to do something. So if I bring in, for instance, this, where did it go? I'm not proud. I want the best results. So if I bring in the bootstraps is one of my personally recorded drum samples here, because it's the band Bootstraps. Let's have a listen. It's definitely closer to what we're going for. So what I'm thinking is, even though it's a stereo sample, let's sum it down to mono and see what happens. Let's do this. I am going to bring the root 1 and put that on just this. Okay, so now that's just triggering it. Let's have a listen. Now so the root one's only on the sample now. So the sample is providing the sub only. So I don't have that issue now of the floor tom adding this extra sub when it's triggering. So I'm now deciding whether I even need the multiband gate. Yeah, I think I like that. So now the sample's serving as my sub. I took off the multiband gate. As much as I like it, and I think it's a super clever plugin, all it was doing was gating out all the snare stuff, but it wasn't fast enough to work with the floor toms. Now, I could, if I wanted to, and it's not a bad idea, we could trigger the sample that we decided to use to trigger the gate. And that way we wouldn't have the floor tom build up in it. But at the moment, I'm happy where I am. I'm just conscious of all these ideas. And this is me explaining my thought process behind it. I know that if we just reached for samples straight away, we could have solved this problem. But we're trying to use them sparingly. And when we use them for a purpose. Here, it's triggering the root 1. So it's giving us a consistent sub frequency. And also, it's a good kick sample. All right, throw the whole drum kit together. Okay, I think we're in a good place. This is not to say it's not going to change again. Of course it will. That's what we do. But I feel like at the moment it's in a much safer place. So now I'm going to bring the snare up here, just above the bass. I'm going to listen to the snare on its own for a second. Now, because we have chosen to use this this kick sample here, I am going to let's have a listen to the bottom snare for a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a relatively fast compressor, which will be the R comp, just because, here, and
Camera audio, so we can hear you.
you're going to go to camera audio?
Yeah.
We're on the camera audio. We seem to have the wheel of death has come up on the R comp, and I don't know why. All these years and it's not happened. So, you want to restart this?
Sure.
I'm going to restart this. We'll do a little Q&A while we figure out... Oh, no, still there. I don't know what's gone on. Oh, please, please. Oh, great gods of DAWs. Anyway, yeah, I seem to have the beach ball of death, which is, I think, pretty remarkable. We were talking about this the other day. Are we on the camera? Did you have it on the screen?
Oh, yeah, I saw it on the screen.
We were talking about this the other day in the several hundred. How many streams have we done? Live streams. In the several hundred live streams we've done, we actually have only had one crash. Now we've had two, which I always find amusing because, you know, it's always like Pro Tools crashes all the time, and I'm like, well, we're running like ScreenFlow and OBS and this, that, and the other. We've only actually had it now happen twice in all that time. So, yeah, I think a transient shaper could be good on that. Yeah, real life. God bless it. But yeah, I think the only thing I'm concerned about, like if that plugin comes up again, whether it causes the same issue, Von Eric. But we'll see.
What plugin was it that you're...
Just an R-comp, just a good old-fashioned Renaissance Waves Renaissance compressor. Couldn't get more generic than that. Jinxed it, says Cat FA. Yes. Have you tried the Root 1 on the low octave vocal to make more natural sounding? Yeah, that's a good idea. It's a good idea. I mean, I don't use the low octave very loud, so that's kind of a big deal. You know, I don't use it very loud. "100% more crashes." Yeah, exactly. Murphy's Law. We say Murphy's Law. In England we would say Sod's Law. My dad would always say, "Well, Sod's Law." What do you reckon, Eric?
I reckon, let's see. Okay, 3-minute difference.
Poor Eric? Oh, poor Eric. They feel so sorry for you. Poor Eric.
Because I'm this close to you, that's why.
Oh, okay. Poor Eric. He has such a tough life. Oh, poor Eric.
I do.
Oh,
I do.
Yeah, he does. He does. Yeah. Going away to Vegas for a few days. Laughlin for a few days. You know, he's... poor Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Life insurance.
It's tough being an Eric. Yeah.
Eric's Unite?
No, I don't think it's the Leap Wing. I don't know what happened. Who knows? What's everyone do for Labor Day weekend? I don't know. Good question. I think I'm working. I'm pretty sure I'm working. Okay, so we're back on this. That's a good sign. I wonder if that plugin is going to come up. I'm gonna risk it. Oh, a kick sub. Okay, where do we end up? So let's have a listen. Cool. So we basically it didn't save the last minute. So we go back to the snare. We are back on the snare here. Marvellous. So all I wanted to do on this snare, well, firstly what I can do is give it a group. So we'll bring it together on 2. We'll call it snare sub, like such. So really is going to be the secret of the song for me, quite frankly, is to get this drum sound to be amazing. Just because, you know, it was the big deal with Roni. She had this. We had this great 70s drum sound that was aggressive and had tons of room tones, and then she wanted it to sound like Creed. And that's just the way it is. It didn't really make any sense to us, but, you know. So all I was going to do was grab an R comp. Let's just pray to the great gods of R compressors and try it one more time. If it crashes, we know it's an R comp issue. Not that we've ever had this before, but hey, you know, stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened. All right, ready to go? Yeah.
That's why it works now, but yeah.
Okay. All right.
We're on camera audio.
We're on camera audio. So Eric just said he had problems with this before. So it looks like we have a rogue R comp. Okay, No R comp will be harmed in the vision of this. So let's do a Q&A while we use it. No blue screens on the Mac. It can go black. It is what it is. You know, yep, again, so it's the R comp is giving us trouble. We will contact Waves today and find out why that might be. And they've got a new plugin coming out. Are we allowed to talk about what it's called? Actually, I
don't think we are, because the email seems...
Yeah, they're very... So they have a new plugin coming out. They sent us, so we're going to do that. Yeah, no, he has reinstalled it. You know, I've used Waves since 1996, and I think this is the first thing I've ever had an issue with, so God bless them. Yeah, schnizzle happens. I think this is like... I know with the big companies like Waves and Avid, it's good, you know, people like hating on it, but honestly, I've not had any major problems with them in all that time. No, I've not had a kernel panic today, thank goodness. A CLA 76 on the snare. Yeah. You know, it is what it is. Do you feel like pulling the shell plugin stuff makes the issues happen more than a good individual install? I don't know. I've like I said, you know, since 1996, when I bought the first Platinum bundle that came out, I've never had this. So, you know, it could be something where it's fighting with, you know, something else we've installed. We'll have to go through it. No, Chris, he had problems with the Waves plugin before we installed Leapwing.
Yeah.
Yes, so we do know it's some kind of Waves issue. Can you just turn off
these automatic things, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're annoying.
Well, it's all adding to the drama of the mix.
The real life mixing.
Real live mixing. Do do diddly do diddly do shlick ding diddly do diddly do. Break out the guitar and do some licks.
Oh, I don't have your guitar right there. That's true.
Warren, when you do you mix based on radio with the ability of live events going on anywhere near the mix played at live events? Or with the ability of live events going anywhere near the mix when played at live events? I'm not sure what you mean, Trevor. I'm sorry, I'm a little confused. About having to sing some cool falsettos reverbed in the outro, grooving with the guitar solo. Yeah, I think Ronnie's moved on from working on the song now, but did you open the song directly or did you open Pro Tools?
Just Pro Tools.
Okay, good. Hopefully it won't open with the R comp on it and go back into the... that would be not a lot of fun. Okay. We do have RX-7 on there as well, and they just brought out the RX-8. All right, so I'm not going to open R comp. I'm going to open a generic, comes free with Pro Tools. Let's see. So we're going to avoid the R comp at the moment. We don't know why, but it has been causing some problems, I was told by Eric before this. And that's before Leapwing, by the way. So it's definitely there's definitely something going on with that. I don't know, but you did say you updated it, yes?
Yeah, I reinstalled it. I took them out, reinstalled.
Okay, well, we'll have to contact them and let them know. Would you send that email off now? They do have 24-hour customer support, so we can call them up. Okay, what do I want? I want, let's go to Avid and use the Dyne 3 compressor. Okay, so you probably know what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the one sample that we're using to trigger the sub to also be a sidechain. So we'll set it to pre-fade, so I don't need to solo the kick to hear it. So pre-fade there. So I'll turn it up, turn up the send. So I don't need to hear the kick drum to hear it work. Then I'll go in here and select bus 3, and then I remember to turn on the side chain there. The great thing about recording top and bottom snare is that you get phase cancellation between the kick when you flip the polarity on the bottom snare. It's pretty miraculous. So if I listen to, for instance, the snare top on its own, listen to this. Now bringing the snare to bottom. Listen to the amount of low end in that. Now put the two together. It actually starts to cancel out. You get that little tiny bit of it. Here is the kick here. Look. Look at that. So recording bottom snares can be quite useful. You see what it's doing? It's actually cancelling some of the kick bleed out. So even though you're using more microphones, you're actually getting less bleed. Pretty miraculous. Okay, so what we're doing now is we're just compressing. It's not the prettiest sounding compressor. The R-Comp is better, but seeing as the R-Comp's giving us issues, we're not going to open it. It's all right, it's not a very pretty drum loop, that, is it? You're like, oh, kill me! I remember somebody on a live stream was like, I can't handle that loop, because it wasn't an exact bar. Okay, so we've got a little bit of kick bleed removed from that. It's not as miraculous and doesn't sound as good as the R-Comp. I'm just being honest. The R-Comp is one of my favorite go-to compressors because it just has a certain sound. You know, Waves call it, even though it's crashing on us, Waves call it, their classic, their legacy plugins. They might be old, they might be 20 plus years old, 24, 25 years old, but they still sound really good. Okay. But I do think a little additional compression, but let's do a little bit of lo-fi on this, just for schnitz and schniggles. And I haven't yet reached for a sample, but let's add some distortion to it in context of the drums. I like what it's doing, but it's exaggerating the bottom snare. Have a listen. So I'm going to bring the bottom snare down a little bit. Again, in solo, it has a different kind of effect to the whole thing. You're hearing a little bit of roughness to it. Hear it in the track.
Love one another, help one another.
I mean, not a bad drum mix for only working on the kick and snare. Not bad at all. I want to hear like sneaking in the tiniest amount of snare sample, what it's doing. Let's at least get, entertain the idea and see if it's helping or not. And if we don't like it, we won't keep it. The idea was obviously to maintain as much of the integrity of the original performance by Kenny. And where is the snare samples? Did you remove them from the session, Eric? No, here they are. You're like, Warren, have I been busted? Have I done something? No, here it is, right underneath here. Okay, let's bring those up. Again, if they're not going to work, they're not going to work. But let's just try it out. Okay, so I'm going to solo this. It's got a ring, but probably a different pitch to the original. Nope. That might help. That's just all attack. Now, obviously, a transient designer can do that, but that's super attacky. Let's bring it down really low. And blend it in. What was interesting is when I, for those of you who noticed, when I accidentally put everything down through a bus, I ended up monifying. You like that? Monifying. That's a new word. Monifying the drums. I do like that what that sample is doing. It is adding some transients. I might use it if we want to trigger a reverb, but I do like that. To me, if it's going to be better, it's better. If it's going to make it too different, then no. But I think, I think we're getting away. Oh, Trevor, what was your question, by the way? I was trying to understand your question. I'll look down again. Sorry about that, Trevor. What I like is it's added at the pat at the front, and the oing is coming from the natural snare. Yeah, monification. So I think we just proved something. I mean, we've done two things. We've blended in a little bit of the A kick sample for the root one, because we found that the root one was fantastic. It was adding the sub frequencies. But when the floor tom was playing, there was only so much gating you were going to do, because the floor tom was bleeding into the kick drum mics. And we've got a sample there which we could use to gate the live mics, or we could let the live mics breathe like we did, and then just yet let the root one trigger the sub. And I think that was a good call. There's 100 ways to skin a cat, and you'll notice every time we mix drums live, like live drums, I will do it in a different way, because that's the point. I'm trying to figure out, what are these new plugins? Is this going to help you? Is it going to be something you might want to use? I can mix. Technically, I'll mix hybrid through a console, or I'll mix in the box, but I never do things. Well, I do things the same way, but I like doing this, like trying out different ideas. That sounds natural to me. That still, even though we're cheating with a little bit of those two samples, that does not feel like a bunch of samples. Okay, I'm going to hear the whole track.
Love one another, help one another. Don't you think you know by now? If I do what I please.
Yeah, it's a good question, Darko. I think with the fixed sub length, it looks like they can control the decay by increasing it, but not shortening it. So I think that, yeah, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Because what I would probably do is probably, in this instance, if I use the sub on a kick, you know, what I quite often do in many, many tricks is use the sound to gate itself. So maybe what we do is we put the kick sample on there, use the sub, and then gate, sidechain it to the original sound afterwards and really shorten it. So I know what you mean. I don't think it would solve the problem with the floor tom though, because you really, when you've got a floor tom that's boom, 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 first of all, the floor tom was playing on the kick, and it might do if you really shortened it. What I tend to do in those instances is, like when you're using like really, really super fast double kicks, is I use an SPL transient designer and shorten. I only engage it, or I put a second one and engage it with a different setting, or automate the existing settings and put that in like the fast section. When doing that, because the last thing, of course, you want is like a sustained note. So I think whatever happens, I think, yes, a couple of people touched on it. I think a transient designer shaping on the Root 1 would be really useful. Yeah, I agree.
Love one another, help one another. Don't you think you know by now? If I do what I please, would it all?
I mean, that's pretty darn good. And haven't done a lot. We've just been very judicious about what we have been doing. I haven't gone in there, done any generic stuff. We haven't, like, you know, scooped out any low mids out of the drums and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Peter. Yeah, I mean, I'll talk to them about them. They're both really good guys. And, you know, you guys and girls have a massive influence on a lot of these people. And I will bring it up about, you know, whether they can transient shape that, or whether, like Peter's saying, a minus decay time on that would be a really smart idea. It might be, you know, that they have to put in some kind of gating or transient, you know, to actually do that effectively. But hey, I think it's a really good idea. And the proof of the pudding is in the eating. We've just seen this, Darko and Peter, we've seen this in action and how it might really help. So let's just do a quick recap on what we ended up doing on this. I'm going to get rid of the elements we're not using, so we don't get too confused. We did cheat with one snare and one kick. We used the kick sub. We used the kick as a sub for the Root 1. Let's pull that down here. I'm just going to clean up my session a little bit so it's easier to navigate. Okay. So all we've done to get this drum sound is we're using. Oh, I turned off the wrong kick. Warren, you're an idiot. Oh no, I didn't turn off the wrong kick. I just didn't hide it. Okay, so let me add this into my group. The things that we've added. You know what? We'll just call it a new name. Dum 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 So I'm just doing a little navigation here, making sure that I am doing this properly. The drum chamber and the drum plate are actually from the studio, you know, from Sunset Sound. So pretty marvelous stuff going on there. What am I looking for? I'm looking for what I did. I love how it makes a noise. Oh yeah, we decided against that ring there. That's what you get for talking and doing this at the same time. I just want to make sure I didn't turn off the wrong thing, which of course I did. Cool. Okay, so just want to make sure we had the right one on there. Talk about seeing inside my my confusion here, making sure this is done properly. Okay, get rid of that and that. And now it's done well. Okay. All right. Organization, you know, sometimes, you know, it can never be underestimated. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is create a new group and call it all with capital letters, drums. So, yeah, we don't need that multiband gate. That is not working. We don't need it. That's gone. So we've ended up with a time adjuster on a kick drum, nudging this back here ever so slightly. I think I'm actually going to, yeah, that's perfect. That's 99% in phase. It's going to be good enough for what we need. We've got snare top, snare bottom, no EQ individually applied on it, believe it or not. Just something on the snare sub and then some lo-fi after some gentle compression. We ended up backing it off, which is being triggered by a sidechain from the kick sample, allowing us to remove some of that bleed. Okay, that is the drum sound. Everything else, we've got a time adjuster we did the other day on one of the room mics. Everything else is the natural sound of the drums. It's interesting. I talk about this a lot, and I think we've done a really good illustration about doing this. You know, we've spent the last hour making decisions on what's the least amount of things we can do to solve the problems. One of the things, I'm sure you all, this will resonate with you all, one of the shortcomings with me over the years was like I started EQing, compressing things before sort of feeling the overall effect. Like if I just got in there and pulled out all the low mids out of all the room mics and boosted all this and cut that and blah, 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 I'd end up with a drum sound which is incredibly EQ'd and compressed and wouldn't be what we're going for. What we decided we wanted to go for was preserve as much as we can of Kenny's actual sound in a room and enhance it. And I think we've done that. I think we've done a really good job on it. Thanks, Peter. Yeah, I'm happy with this. And I think it keeps the integrity. I think it's exactly what, you know, we're dealing with one of the finest, most famous, frankly, and finest drummers in the world. Okay, so let's try the root 1 on the bass. So we're going to go to bus 4, which is the next available. I'm not saying we won't group the drums eventually. We might do that. So we'll call it We might group it, we might create a parallel, we might do all kinds of stuff. But let's kind of step away from that mentality for the time being. So here's the bass sum together. So we decided to use the DI for the low end. Yeah, Jörg, I quite often write comments in there if it's something that's going to really stick to me. Thanks, Darko. Yeah, I mean, he definitely slapped that string against the pickup. Yeah, we went through this before. It's a pretty ugly in solo sound. Yeah, Roberto, I'm not sure about, I hear you, I'm not sure about adding extra click on the kick yet. I'm trying to figure out how modern we want this. We're trying to get that sort of like aggressive drummer in the room meets, you know, meets the 70s. It's getting that balance, but you're right. We still might add some click on it. We might parallel compress and add some energy. Once we do that, we might want to cut some of the low mids because there might be some low mid buildup. But at the moment, I think I'm pretty happy. You know, this is kind of an incremental approach. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the root one on the whole element of the bass, unless we decide you just want to do it on this. Maybe what we'll do is we'll do it on this. I'm a little nervous with the waves at the moment. I think it's just the REQ, but I'm going to step out of using another waves just for the heck of it. And anyway, I'm going to go stock. Why not? I'm going to go stock EQ. And I'm just going to pull in, oops. A little bit of shaping on that bass. So I've gone to about 50 hertz there. It says 48, but whatever, about 50 hertz. Done some cutting on it. I'm going to do the shape it before I go into the root one, because I feel like if I was to put an R bass on this, I always shape going in. So now let's go and grab root one. And you know what I did on live, I think I'll do again, is move the center of this EQ a little higher, so like between about 90 and 100. Let's solo it. Let's bring those dynamics down so it's more consistent. Take it out of solo. Put the two elements together. Going to bypass it, bring it back in, see what we think. Let's throw in the drums. Okay, now I've got these two together, so I'm gonna grab, we'll grab a generic again, EQ. What am I looking for? I am looking for EQ37. So I did a little boost, about 100 here. We're just going to deal with the fact that this bass is messy. You know, he's slapping the pickups with his fingers. You know, there's some interesting harmonics going on. The doi 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 doi, because his fingers are moving kind of left and right on the fingering when he's playing. But it's kind of cool. And sometimes this roughness is like nothing to be sneezed at. In solo, you know, it's not the best performance. He's not the greatest bass player, but it is in the room with the drummer, and there's something inherent about those two working off each other. I'm not really feeling like I can pick up the bass tone though. Let's see if we can find some fun area. So I'm exaggerating 100, I'm exaggerating 1K. Let's have a listen. Such an ugly tone. The root one's just adding a little roundness to it. But I know what you're all going to ask, and I'm gonna try it out. So I'm gonna bring this down, this boost that I did that was crazy. Bring this boost down that I did that was crazy. Bring the root one on and off, a bit more exaggeration. And I suppose, let's go back. I hope this doesn't cause any issues. I'm really a little terrified. You know, I'm going to open up. Hey, because we know the R comp is causing some issues. So, are we gonna risk it, Eric? R bass. Please don't give us the. Okay, that's R bass. Have a listen. Okay, root one. Such an ugly bass tone. I wish I could have picked a better bass sound to try this out on. I can hear the R bass adding some more of the high mids than the low lows. Not high mids, but higher frequencies, not high mids. So let's have a little bit more fun with this root one. All right, I like that. So the R bass. It's definitely adding some like 350-ish, 400, isn't it? Well, presumably, if it's moving up in octaves, it's going to be 320. Yeah, we can take the 100 hertz boost off if you like. Okay, root one. This is the section here where he's playing a little cleaner I want to highlight, and we'll see what we think. Okay, yeah, this is like his cleanest performance here. It's interesting. The R bass seems to be adding more of the second and third harmonics, doesn't it? It seems to be adding more of the 320 in there. So here's the R bass on only. Okay, here's the R bass only. So the root one definitely is adding more sub, less, you know, because we all know the R bass does like the 80 and then it duplicates it over and over again, so that it reinforces the whole sound, and that's nice. It's a nice feature. So we have to decide: do we want the root one? And the root one obviously can do that because we can set the frequencies to do that. Like I could go to 160 here. How does it go? 196. So I can go to 160. Okay, in with the drums. Okay, so when I'm putting, so what I would do is I would use the R bass and then I put it out hybrid through the console, and then I use my Pultec, which has a massive boost at about 100 hertz and has this huge roundness, and that gives me something that's closer to the root one. The R bass alone never quite gives me the low lows that I want, that I don't want to be super, super low. I do think the root one is winning out. I mean, you can all give me your opinion, but I think the root one is winning out in this situation. So here's the root one. Okay, now just the R bass. Root one on its own. So the question is, do we want to try, oh, this is stupid. Why do we want to try just dialing in a tiny bit of R bass with it and see if that brings up some of those mids, or whether we just do that with EQ? I think it's interesting. So I'm sorry to spend so much time on this, but this is important. It's important to me because, you know, we tried out this plugin. I was really impressed with it on the live stream. You know, it is my duty to you as Academy members to sort of push the envelope a little bit and see if we're really benefiting from this. I think we are. I believe that it is a more rounded low-end sub factor with the central point at 87 there between 50 and 160. That's an area, 87, you know, split hairs. It's an area that I would love, you know, to be focused on in the bass. The R bass definitely has, definitely brings up the low mids a lot, you know. That's interesting. I don't think it sounds detached to me, Roberto. I think what it does is it sounds like me engaging my, it sounds like me engaging my, my Pultec. So I suppose a part of me thinks, what about we do this? Put the R bass on that channel before the root 1. Let's bring it off and bring it in. Because it's interesting how much of the mids it's bringing up. Didn't really get to compare it directly, but it really does. No, I prefer it without it on. No. So, don't get me wrong. I love the R bass. It's one of my favorite plugins. One of my favorite plugins. But I think in this instance, I think the Root 1 is beating it for us. But it is adding some of those mids. You know, it's interesting. If I get rid of this for a second. It's sounding pretty classy, you know, and I like that. I like that spelling mistake, Chris. You have to play with it to see what it dies. It dies. We do have a 20% off sale for Academy members, by the way. There is a 20%. They gave us a discount. So if you want to get it, there is an extra discount. Okay, just for snitch and sniggles, I'm going to put it on the bass amp side, which is really ugly. Because we EQ'd out below 200, but it's adding that 350 on. It's kind of good. All right, put the two together. Wow, low end central. Wow, it's getting crazy. It's getting crazy in here. It's a little too floppy. That's what, anyway, said the bishop to the actress. I think I'm finding a compromise here. It's taking me a bit of time to play around with this. All right, now you think I'm crazy. I got a little bit of an R bass going on the bass sub. Yes, I have. I'm also going to actually turn off these EQ moves at the moment and just do a little bit of high passing. All right, now put it in with the drums. I haven't got one of those sub packs, but I do like the blues. They've been really good to us. After the ones that Eric broke, but doesn't remember breaking, they just magically broke on their own. Oh, by the way, I've got to tell you these guys. Got to tell you this because I love you all dearly. Glenn came in and did a shootout between a Clark Technic, Poltec looking thing, and against the real ones. I don't know when that video comes out, but you're going to enjoy it. All right. I am still going to try one more thing because that's what I do. I am going to grab the MV2. We've got problems with the R-Comp. Please don't have a problem with the MV2. Not the MV2. That would be horrible. Is it going to work? Oh. I don't like the R bass anymore. It's adding this. Oh. As soon as the MV2 comes in and brings up some of the low lows and makes them more even. There you go. All right. So that's my new combination, or at least it is for today. Oh, Clark Technic original equipment, some of the best made in the world. They were amazing. Unfortunately, this particular Clark Technic is not a Clark Technic. If you open it up, the transformer's about this big. And if you look at the back of a Poltec, the transformers are like this big. And they're plural, transformers. And also the Poltec has multiple tubes. This has 2. You're going to enjoy the review. Yeah, the R-bass phase issue is, it's hard to put it on individual sources when collectively put together. I really like the R-bass, but what I just did there just isn't work when you put it on one source. You have to put it on multiples, or you have to put it on 2 sources and just, you know, don't put the intensity up on one of them. But I wanted to try all the different variations. But this I'm happy with now. So I've got the Root 1 on the bass DI, and I've got the MV2 over the whole thing. Now I think we're cooking with gas. Justin says the blue headphones just fall apart occasionally, so you're okay.
They do.
Amazing. We haven't had that happen to any of the 5 pairs we have, but apparently...
That one, just in between me setting it down on the desk and you picking them up, it just flew
It
apart.
just flew apart.
It just did.
No, it was like snapped. Somebody trod on it or something like that. Okay, I'm happy with that. All right, that was some good fun experimentation. I mean, remember, they do a 30-day free trial, so you can try it out for yourself. Here we go. Yeah, the MV2 is a game changer. It really is, isn't it? And R-Bass, you know, is a wonderful plugin. Still, look, you know, it's one of my top 2 favorite plugins with the MV2. Yeah, Eric moved me to the other side of the screen. Woo, what's going on? I'm over here. Hey, everybody, I'm over here. I don't know. really want to grab something. Let's go to our good friends. Plug in Alliance. I want to go for something. Is it this one? Don't give me the beach ball of death. No, it's not this. I want something Nevish on these guitars. I really do. I want something. They have a V series. And I want to try something a little different. I want to try something a little different. I don't want to do predictable. So let's have a quick look. There's an AMEC EQs. That wouldn't be actually bad. I used to have an AMEC back in the olden days. And of course I had Attack. Chandler? Actually, I'm going to go over that for a second. I want to try something. Ooh, what's this? Oh. That's not what I expected. A yellow drive? Where did that come from? Oh, because I hit the wrong one. What happened to that? Okay, it's pretty cool. Not going to use it, but it was cool. Okay, so I thought the N was the. I was wrong. I thought that was the. I thought that was actually the Neve one, but it's not. I mean, I suppose I could go to the Slate one. Do we even have that? We don't even have the Slate one in there anymore, do we? Where's all the Slate stuff gone? We didn't reload them. No. Okay, I'm going to go then and just get an EQ. You know, when in doubt. That's working wonders. That's really nice. That's really nice. So what we've done is we cut some 2K, we boosted some 405. We basically did SSL console moves. We went up to about 150, 140, 150, but then boosted at about the same area. So boost and cut, classic SSL move, boost and cut the same frequencies, cut the 2K, boosted the 4 or 5K, 4.5, boosted a bit of 8, but then came to 7 and cut it. Classic SSL, and off we go. Sounds great. I love this plugin. So this is Brainworks' SSL. This sounds like my SSL. It's really good. So here it is again in bypass. And now it's on. God, that sounds good. Congratulations, Brainworks. That sounds like my SSL. Okay. Wow. We did threaten to do the Brainworks challenge, not that they asked for it, but you know, to actually shoot it out against SSL. But that's pretty amazing. Yeah, it's pretty darn good. I'm pretty impressed. Okay, I'm going to take the right-hand rhythm here, and I'm actually just going to copy and paste the same EQ, so there's some balance between those two guitars. This is a lot of fun. I love doing this. It's been, guys and girls, thanks for hanging out on this. This has been a lot of fun. So I'm just going to generically copy that and not even, let's just have a see what we got. This is the Brainworks SSL emulation. And yeah, it's the 4000E. Some of my channels are E's and some of them are G's. I've got a mixture. I've got the browns, the blacks, and the oranges. So I've got a bit of all of them, so depending on what you want. So the SSL trick is essentially to boost and cut the same frequency. So it's something that Dave Jordan did forever. So he'll go down like on the guitar here, for instance. So what he will do is he'll boost. See, we boosted. What is that? Is it going to let us 110? And we cut. We're actually boosting below it. And we boosted 100, and we cut up to 134. So we actually did a massive boost below the frequency, slightly below it. He always say boost and cut the same thing. So I've gone just below 134 and boosted it. So what it does is it creates this really beautiful bloom. Poltech is a great way of doing it as well. So go below and boost the low end, but then cut up to it, and you'll get this much gentler, sweeter sounding EQ. If you go to the 200, which is what you're trying to do, you're trying to bring in some more 200 body and boost it with a bell, it ends up going, you hear this EQ boost. This just sounds like a bigger, fatter, gorgeous sounding guitar that doesn't have any EQ applied. It just feels like, wow, how did you do that? It's just beautiful. Love what's going on here. Okay, so listen to this acoustic. It's probably me. Yeah, that's me. I think we should go, you know what I'm going to do, and grab the Brainworks SSL, because I am a little bit in love with that. I'm going to go for the E again. It's a tough one. I always want some mid-range in there, a little bit more. Acoustics tend to get a little, little wispy and thin and everything. I always go for mids. Changing the position of the EQ into the compression, seeing what it feels like. Increasing the total harmonic distortion. Increasing the gain into it. Okay, I like what that's doing. I like how aggressively it's hitting the compressor now. Now it sounds like a rock song. I'm going to do a thing on the CLA Mix Hub. I've found watching the video presentation that it was incredibly confusing, and I feel like it's trying to be clever and trying to be like a console. I do know a couple of people I respect like the individual SSL elements of it. Nobody I know is using it as the actual Mix Hub itself. It's not to say that people aren't doing it like that. Are any of you using it as the CLA Mix Hub, or are you just using the individual channels? I don't know. Let me know. But that sounds exciting now. Let's hear it without all that EQ compression. Now in. I like it on that pam, 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 pam. It's very SSL. Obviously, it's adding volume, perceived volume as well. That's obviously making a difference, but I do like the way it's hitting. Yeah, I'm really digging that. So American of me. I'm really digging that. This is what always happens, you see. Now we're getting these guitars to be exciting, and you're starting to hear a little bit of brightness and a bit of a fight. So the first thing that's happening is I'm listening to that snare going, sounds a little dull. This is why I said we weren't really over. You know, once we start applying EQ to other things, this is what happens. We didn't do anything specific on the snare. So I feel like individual elements, I think we're safe with the REQ, aren't we? I'm going to hit save. Not even going to go for the REQ. It's just the R comp that's causing problems. Did you get hold of Waves? Did you send them a message?
Yeah, at 1:15, I'm going to go on a call with them, and they're going to take control of the computer themselves and go through the problem themselves.
Yay! Go Waves, go Waves. It's your birthday. Go Waves. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
I know, they've always been really good. And we've done this, and they've never, and they don't know who we are. It's great. The first time they did it, it was just like Eric calling up. They took control of the computer and fixed it for us. They're really freaking awesome. Okay. Okay, so I just applied some like 7K lift and about 100, 150 lift to the bottom and snare top. I'm not soloing the individual elements. I want to see if I can get that snare to cut in context of the mix. Afterwards, it might be quite painful. And now I'm copying that down to the snare sub. So you're asking about the difference between the Waves and the Brainworks. I love Waves plugins. I've been using them since 95 or 96, whenever they brought out Platinum. So I've been with them a long time. Most professionals, as you can tell, use Waves plugins. We also love, people love UAD. They love everything, Fab Filter. All of these, you see the same plugins coming up with most people that do this for a living. I really like the Waves SSL plugin. It doesn't sound like my SSL. This Brainworks does. My SSL doesn't sound like other people's SSLs. So all I can tell you is the Brainworks, everything I just did on that Brainworks one there mirrors what actually happens on my console. That's all I can say. I'm not going to tell you that the Waves one is not close to another SSL. I'm just telling you that mirrored my own experience. If you look at the EQ settings on my guitars, I'm sure you can in other hybrid videos, you'll see that those EQ settings I just did there are pretty identical to what I did. Exactly. Pete's saying the snare high has to keep pace with the acoustic. Yeah, the acoustic and the electrics. Okay, what do you think on your speakers there? Do you feel like the bass, I got a bit carried away with the low end on the bass with the Root 1? I can't tell. To me, it feels like, I'm so in it, but I feel like I've got a little extra, like we just kind of fell in love with that on the bass. But have a listen, see what you think. So I just brought the subharmonics down ever so slightly. So I just increased my high pass on my bass by 5 hertz. It was at 48, 49. Now it's at 55, so like 6 hertz, whatever. So I think it just get it a little bit out of the way of the kick a bit more. So I'm going to take this kick sub that we've got and change it for an REQ6. Hopefully it won't crash. I think it's just the R comp that's the issue. And let's do a couple of things. I'm going to go in here at about 60 and boost this a little bit on the kick. happy with that. I know with fresh ears, I'm probably going to change some stuff. That's just the way it is. I do want to hear what this Nord sounds like coming in the organ. There's a part of me, and I think Darko's right, you know, for bringing this up in the conversation. There's a part of me that absolutely loves what the bass is doing, and I love all that low, but there's a part of me that just wishes, and it's got a lot to do with the performance, I wish it was a little tighter, you know, shorter, and maybe controlling that decay and making it shorter than the actual note might be kind of nice. But I'm really happy with that. So here we are. We've been going for a whopping 2 hours. I really enjoying this. I want to come back to this next week. Let's come back to it next week. I'm excited to hear your mixes. So please get stuck in this. I know we've already had, was it Pete sent us some tracks? Is Michael Garden's going to send us some horns, I believe. Yeah, so feel free to add your own stuff, change it up. You know, try out the Root one on the free trial, or get it with the 20% discount, whatever you want to do. And God bless it. This has been a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing these. And I love this process and, you know, asking opinions and getting some stuff back. It's been really good. So thank you ever so much for joining in. See you Friday and see you next Wednesday. Have a marvelous time. Thank you, Darko. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Roberto. Thank you, Dustin. Frederick Charles. Yeah, there's definitely lots more energy, Frederick. I agree. I think we're getting in there. It's starting to sound like a rock band having a great time. I feel like I want to like get Roni's vocal and give it a bit of edge, maybe a bit of trash it out just a bit. I might put lo-fi on it almost before we even go, just because. Let's just for the heck of it, grab the lo-fi plug-in, put a vocal in. Times, been through all the hard times. It hasn't been easy, I know. You can pray to the Father. Great. Love it. Yeah, I'm trashing it out the vocal a bit. It's going to add some extra excitement in there. Thank you, everyone. You all rock. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing, and see you in 2 days. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, au revoir, adios. Goodbye.